This segment of Thoroughbreds Argo is brought to you by Inglis, celebrating graduates both on and off the track. The recent Racing New South Wales Equimillion event held in Sydney attracted over 500 thoroughbreds and plenty of humans dedicated to the care of this magnificent animal. I caught up with Inglis Managing Director Mark Webster, an experienced horseman himself and passionate about the aftercare of thoroughbreds, to see some Inglis graduates going through their paces. Another Equimillion, and great to see Inglis supporting these off-track thoroughbreds, and it's an incredible competition, isn't it, when you see hundreds and hundreds of ex-racehorses all in the one place.
That's right, Caroline. This is the third running of Equimillion, and look, we sponsored from the very start with a view that the aftercare and the welfare of racehorses is really important to Inglis, to our shareholders and all of our team members. It's wonderful to come here. There's 500 competing over this long weekend, which is remarkable that it's almost at capacity now.
You know, people need to see the dedication of people outside the racing and breeding industry. I mean, look, some of them work in the industry, but there are so many equestrians that are kind of falling in love with thoroughbreds again.
Yeah, that's right. And it's interesting to see the bridging too. I was just down the back watching a Tractable, who was a Easter graduate from the COVID year. Yep. He won $2.5 million on the track. I think he's only 5 or 6 now, but he only stopped racing in June. You know, he was up in Queensland, and here he is doing dressage down the back arena like 4 months later, which is quite amazing. And Sarah Ryan, the trainer of the horse, is still here coaching the rider today. Hasn't quite let go of that responsibility. Yeah, so it's lovely to see the racing people still involved and connected to the new owners, who are, I guess, equestrian people in the crossover. And
I think the interesting thing too is that a lot of racing people, whether it be clubs or, you know, owners, there are a lot of owners that have got involved, and trainers, and there's a lot of support for this in terms of sponsoring particular riders, because it is expensive to have any horse.
It is. Look, it's expensive to have them, and of course, and then to go and enter them into competitions like this, it's expensive. But you know, I think it's great that there's an incentive though for people to want to take that step, and money does help. The prestige competing here. I mean, this is the Olympic equestrian facility, right? So it's prestigious for people to come here and compete, and good to see thoroughbreds here competing. I've been here many times competing on quarter horses, just over the back there. One of my favourite venues, but I've been here to see, you know, world-class show jumpers and dressage horses, and here we have now thoroughbreds, some of them complete newbies learning the new trade.
The elite riders too, because there has been that push to warm bloods, you know, through, I guess, the 80s, you know, thoroughbreds were the go-to horses, and warm bloods sort of took over, particularly with dressage. But now we're seeing, you know, Amanda Ross, we see Shanae Lowings, you know, these are elite Australian riders, and they are invested in these thoroughbreds, and they believe they can get through to that elite level of Olympic Games, World Cups, World Championships.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, our thoroughbreds have always been very competitive at, you know, 3-day events. Eventing in general, but I think there's even more of a focus on that now for dressage and just show jumping and those specific disciplines. There's also a real advantage, Caroline, like when you're buying, and I'm not telling people not to buy warm bloods, but the reality is some of these other breeds, the European breeds, are very expensive to get started. But you can pick out a thoroughbred off the track for almost nothing at the moment, and in many cases it is nothing. You just need to form a relationship, with an owner or a trainer and just promise a good home, and then just spend your money on the training of the horse. So the actual capital outlay can be almost zero to buy these horses and get started.
You see that link between racing and the equestrian world. You know, a young girl I sponsored through Thoroughbreds Go, 13-year-old Harper Wheatley, and she's fascinated by racing. So she goes to the sales, she goes to the races, and she picks out the horses she might like to ride in the future because she really loves the breed. But she's also learning about racing pedigrees. She wants to be a track work rider. That's the crossover with a lot of these young people. It opens the racing industry up for them too.
Yeah, it certainly does. I was just talking to somebody down the back who's in a stable, I won't say which one, but she's eyeing off horses in that stable that she could take on board for this very event in the future. And so I think in the back of the mind of a lot of people now involved in racing, or people who are fans and follow racing, they'll be thinking about that now. You know, seeing that horse in the mounting yard that's particularly quiet and handling the whole occasion. That at the end of their racing, you know, they're the sort of horse that might suit them, particularly the good-looking ones, Caroline. We all like a good-looking horse.
Oh, there's some beautiful-looking horses around here today, that's
yeah.
for sure. But, you know, the bigger picture too, and from an Inglis point of view, you know, you've obviously always been responsible for, you know, not selling horses that are too old, or trying to, you know, now with the online digital platform, horses don't need to travel. You don't need to travel pregnant mares necessarily late in the spring. You know, all those sorts of things. Everything helps in the industry, telling the sort of anti-racing world that the industry is trying really hard and it will get it right.
Yeah, that's right. Look, we took the initiative 8 or 9 years ago now to start a digital platform just to facilitate easier trade of horses, not so much for commercial purposes, but just to allow horses that are coming off the track to be offered to a wider audience. And the reality is that our live sales that we're running, you know, if we're having like a mixed monthly sale or something, we might get 100 or 200 people turning up. But with a digital sale, we can have an infinite number of people around the country participating and buying a horse that's suitable for this very purpose. And indeed, you know, quite often we've got 20,000 people at a digital sale eyeing off geldings that are coming off the track, or mares coming off the track, whereas in the past, under the old way of selling them, we would never have had that. And we see that now. I mean, and some of these horses are selling to New Zealand and other places as well for this very purpose.
There's still a lot of work to be done. Obviously, Racing New South Wales has its model. You know, we see different models around, you know, Australia and around the world. But, you know, we're getting closer to the right solutions, aren't we? And all of this really helps.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I guess one consideration is all the states are doing their own thing when it comes to welfare and aftercare. And I'm lucky enough that I do travel to America quite regularly, and I look at their aftercare programs over there, and they're quite proactive. But wherever I go, the common view is we can still do better, right? So I'm not pretending we're here today and we've solved all of our problems. There's still a lot of work to be done in relation to aftercare, for owners to take responsibility of their horses, and for everybody involved in racing to take on their responsibility to ensure these horses have a great life. And some of them will come here, but some of them have a life in breeding. And even in my case at home, I've got a lovely mare off the track that I'm using for breeding, but not for breeding a thoroughbred. She'll be a surrogate for my quarter horse mare, who I want to keep in work. She's a futurity mare. So there's lots of different ways they can be cared for moving forward, and this is one of them.
Nature Strip clings on. He's king of the mountain this time.
Winner of 22 races, over $20 million in prize money. stick around. Just along the rail, one time to total pride. Brilliant group, I must say, Kathy O'Hara. Doing a super job on Nature Strip. One of the heroes of Equimillion 2025.
And it's an owner's responsibility, isn't it? I mean, you really need to, when you're retiring a horse, to really look at all those options. There are a lot of options out there and it can be hard and confusing, but trainers are happy to help. Anyone could contact anyone at Inglis. You know, you're all happy. Everybody in the industry wants to help find horses the right home.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there's a lot of trainers with a big social media following. You know, when they have horses that are suitable, particularly the young people that are buying these horses or wanting them, you know, just use their social media, not just to promote horses that are winning, but the opportunities for horses when, you know, their racing is over. And so look, we can sell them through digital, but equally they can promote them to the right sort of people through social media. The key is they've just got to go to a good home, you know, and making sure that they're well cared for moving forward. So everyone's got to do their due diligence in that regard.